Yo, what's up, world? What's up, world? It's your host, Brandon's Tattoos, and we on Thillarts TV. All right, Thillarts TV. I think the lighting might be a little too bright. I think the light might be a little too bright. Yeah, I don't know. A little too bright for me. Um, I'm just keep it real with everybody. I'm reporting the news, but I'm gonna let AI do all of the reading. You feel me? AI gonna do it all. So let's see what's. Can AI can read? Can I read it loud enough? Let's see here. Oh, no, it can't. Let me see.
Listen, there's a good chance somebody's trying to hack your website right now. You've got to make.
And now, Fox 13 chief meteorologist.
Oh, they told me. They took me. Oh, okay. That's Tampa Bay.
Tropical storm Idalia is nearing hurricane strength as it approaches western Cuba. The storm is forecast to become a major hurricane ahead of making landfall in Florida. County by county information. https://www.fox13news.com/news/hurricane. Get your tropical weather forecast each day during hurricane season from the meteorologists at FOX 13 Tampa Bay and myfoxhurricane.com. We'll issue a new hurricane update each day and more frequently when needed.
Yeah. So Hurricane Idalia. Let's pronounce that again, AI. Let's pronounce that name again, AI.
Idalia.
Idalia. Sound like some shoes we had out. Wow.
Idalia.
Idalia. Hurricane Idalia. So yeah, we in the South enjoy it. We feel it. Yeah, we feel it. Let's see what's going on in other news. Cause like I say, man, really trying to get this thing. Oh, Love and Hip Hop Cast. What's going on with them? Love and Hip Hop Cast. What's going on with them? We trying to get monetized and everything. Let's see what's going on with them, man. So y'all tune in. Y'all like content with the news and me reporting it from my point of view. Like, comment, subscribe, man. I'm gonna drop some live stuff, but it just takes too long to do live, so I just don't. Uh oh, here you go, 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 here you go.
After a fight at a lounge, officers say a fight broke out around 11 last night at Luca Lounge on Far Road in Buckhead. They say Erica Mena and Addie Bambi Richardson were arrested along with Kareem Cadet and Rodney Shaw. Mena is charged with simple battery and felony obstruction of a police officer. Richardson is charged with felony obstruction of an officer.
It was through Delta Community that I was able to save up money for a down payment for a home.
Everybody was so patient.
They're always happy to see me.
It feels more personal.
I've seen the best and I've seen the worst. Delta Community Credit Union is by far #1.
Like in Georgia, Channel 2 Action News, the only station with its own dual-pole Dr. radar.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Nitz. With Storm Tracker 2 HD and its unique location, we bring you a level of accuracy that can't be matched. We can take you inside a storm, break it down in 3D, and most importantly, warn you 5 minutes earlier than anyone else.
Storm Tracker 2 HD, only on Channel 2 Action News.
Hitler. Man, let's go back. Let's see what's going on. Okay, man, that's love and hip hop for you. What does it say going on right here, man? I know I got some. What's going on with New York Times? With Trump. Yeah, let's see what they say about Trump too. Shit. You hear me?
Meadows testifies in bid to move Georgia Trump case to federal court. Mark Meadows, a former White House chief of staff, told a judge he believed his actions regarding the 2020 election fell within the scope of his job as a federal official.
Let me get the camera right. Get the camera right. Okay. Responsible. Great.
A battle over whether to move the Georgia racketeering case against Donald J. Trump and his allies to federal court began in earnest on Monday, when Mark Meadows, a former White House chief of staff, testified in favor of such a move before a federal judge in Atlanta. Under questioning by his own lawyers and by prosecutors, Mr. Meadows stated emphatically that he believed that his actions detailed in the indictment fell within the scope of his duties as chief of staff. But he also appeared unsure of himself at times, saying often that he could not recall details of events in late 2020 and early 2021. "My wife will tell you sometimes that I forget to take out the trash," he told Judge Steve C. Jones of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Georgia. At another point during the day-long hearing, he asked whether he was properly complying with the judge's instructions, saying, "I'm in enough trouble as it is." The effort to shift the case to federal court is the first major legal fight since the indictment of Mr. Trump, Mr. Meadows, and 17 others was filed by Fonnie T. Willis, the district attorney of Fulton County, GA. The indictment charges Mr. Trump and his allies with interfering in the 2020 presidential election in the state. Mr. Meadows is one of several defendants who are trying to move the case. Any ruling on the issue could apply to all 19 defendants.
Okay, 19 defendants. Oh my goodness. Yes, this is interesting, buddy. Yes, it is.
Mr. Meadows testified that Mr. Trump directed him to set up the now famous phone call on January 2nd, 2021, between Mr. Trump and Brad Raffensperger, the Georgia Secretary of State. During the call, a focus of the case, Mr. Trump pressed Mr. Raffensperger and said he wanted to find nearly 12,000 more Trump votes, enough to reverse his defeat in Georgia. Takeaways from Trump's indictment in Georgia: Card 1 of 5, the fourth criminal case. Former President Donald Trump was indicted for a fourth time on August 14th, this time over what prosecutors in Atlanta described as his efforts to unlawfully undo his election loss in Georgia in 2020. The indictment includes 13 charges against Trump, as well as charges against 18 of his allies. Here are some key takeaways. Trump was charged under Georgia's RICO Act. Prosecutors charged Trump and his allies under the state's Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act, which allows them to link various crimes committed by different people by arguing that they were acting together for a common criminal goal. At its heart, the statute requires prosecutors to prove the existence of an enterprise and a pattern of racketeering activity. The charges reached far beyond Trump. Among the 18 Trump allies charged in the case are Rudolph Giuliani, the former New York City mayor and lawyer for Trump, and Mark Meadows, the former White House chief of staff. Also charged are several more lawyers who are accused of working to try to overturn the election, including John Eastman and Sidney Powell. The charges fall into several baskets. Several of the individual counts stem from false claims of election fraud that Giuliani and 2 other Trump lawyers made at legislative hearings in December 2020. Another batch of charges concerns a plan to vote for a false slate of pro-Trump electors. A third raft of charges accuses several Trump allies of conspiring to steal voter data and tamper with voting equipment in Coffee County, GA. The district attorney gave Trump 10 days to turn himself in. Fani Willis, the district attorney who led the lengthy investigation, gave Trump until noon on August 25th to surrender in Fulton County, where he would be arraigned on the charges and enter a plea. The Fulton County sheriff said he expected that Trump would be booked in the same way as any other defendant. Trump said he would turn himself in on August 24th.
Man, it's public records. He's going over public records.
Mr. Meadows said Mr. Trump wanted to make the call because he believed that fraud had occurred and wanted to resolve questions about the ballot signature verification process. We all want accurate elections, Mr. Meadows said at one point. Mr. Raffensperger, a Republican who is the state's top elections official, also testified after being subpoenaed by the prosecution. He recounted how he had ignored earlier calls from Mr. Meadows. He said he didn't think it was appropriate to talk to him while Mr. Trump was contesting the state's results, and initially tried to avoid a January 2nd call with Mr. Trump. Under questioning by the prosecution, he characterized it as a campaign call. Outreach to this extent was extraordinary, he said of the calls from Mr. Meadows and Mr. Trump. Monday's hearing marked a dramatic inflection point in the case. Mr. Meadows, one of the highest profile defendants, faced Fulton County prosecutors for the first time. Mr. Raffensperger recounted the threats against him, his wife and election workers after Mr. Trump made unfounded allegations about Georgia voter fraud. And Mr. Trump's distinctive voice filled the courtroom as prosecutors played snippets of the January 2nd call. We won the state, Mr. Trump said. If the effort to move the case to federal court succeeds, it could benefit the Trump side by broadening the jury pool beyond Fulton County into outlying counties where the former president has somewhat more support. Editors pick swear all you want. They'll make more putting all my eggs in the boyfriend basket. Netflix says you can keep their DVDs and request more, too. Skip advertisement.
Oh, my bad, that last part.
It could also slow down at least some of the proceedings. If the case remains in state court, 3 of the defendants are likely to face trial starting in October. Kenneth Chesebro has already been granted an early trial, and Sidney Powell has sought the same. A lawyer for John Eastman, another defendant, has said he, too, will seek a speedy trial. How Times reporters cover politics. Times journalists may vote, but they are not allowed to endorse or campaign for candidates or political causes. That includes participating in rallies and donating money to a candidate or cause.
Yeah.
Mr. Meadows and his lawyers argue that the job of chief of staff sometimes seeps into the realm of politics by its very nature, and that the local district attorney is essentially operating beyond her power by seeking to delineate what a powerful federal official's job should and should not be. A guide to the various Trump investigations confused about the inquiries and legal cases involving former President Donald Trump. We're here to help. Key cases and inquiries. The former president faces several investigations at both the state and the federal levels into matters related to his business and political careers. Here is a close look at each. Case tracker. Trump is at the center of 4 criminal investigations. Keep track of the developments in each year. What if Trump is convicted? Will any of the proceedings hinder Trump's 2024 presidential campaign? Can a convicted felon even run for office? Here is what we know and what we don't know. Ms. Cross noted to Mr. Meadows that he had visited suburban Cobb County, GA, where a ballot audit was taking place after a meeting with William P. Barr, who was then the U.S. Attorney General. During the meeting, Mr. Barr dismissed election fraud claims as unsupported by facts. Mr. Meadows replied that in his mind, there were still allegations worthy of investigation. The arguments echo those made in filings before the hearing by the prosecution and Mr. Meadows' lawyers. Mr. Meadows, along with all 18 other defendants, is charged with racketeering. Along with Mr. Trump, he is also accused of soliciting Mr. Raffensperger to violate his oath of office. Mr. Raffensperger, a Republican, has written that he felt he was being pressured to fudge the numbers. During his testimony, Mr. Meadows discussed the trip he made to Cobb County during its audit of signatures on mail-in absentee ballots. He was turned away after trying to get into the room where state investigators were verifying the signatures. Mr. Meadows said he had been in the area visiting his children who lived there and went to the auditing location because he was anticipating that Mr. Trump would eventually bring up the Cobb County review. He said what he found was a very professional operation. The case continues to move forward in state court. On Monday, the judge, Scott McAfee, scheduled arraignments of Mr. Trump and the other defendants for September 6. It is possible that several of the arraignments will not be conducted in person, given the heightened security requirements involving a former president. For the next few weeks at least, the case will be wrangled by 2 different judges working in courthouses a few blocks apart in downtown Atlanta. Judge McAfee, of Fulton County Superior Court, is an appointee of Georgia's Republican Governor, Brian Kemp, and a member of the Conservative Federalist Society, though he also once worked for Ms. Willis and is well regarded by many lawyers on both sides of the case. Judge Jones, an Obama appointee, has been moving quickly regarding the removal question. In 2019, he upheld Georgia's purge of nearly 100,000 names from its voter rolls over the objections of liberal activists. In 2020, he blocked a 6-week abortion ban from taking effect in the state. The Georgia case is the fourth criminal indictment of Mr. Trump this year. If Mr. Trump is elected president again, he could theoretically try to pardon himself for any federal convictions.
Oh, wow.
But regardless of whether the Georgia case is tried in state or federal court, it concerns state crimes, which are beyond the pardon power of presidents. Christian Boone contributed reporting. Richard Fawcett is a correspondent based in Atlanta. He mainly writes about the American South, focusing on politics, culture, race, poverty, and criminal justice. He previously worked at the Los Angeles Times, including as a foreign correspondent in Mexico City. More about Richard Fawcett. Danny Hakim is an investigative reporter. He has been a European economics correspondent and bureau chief in Albany and Detroit. He was also a lead reporter on the team awarded the 2009 Pulitzer Prize for breaking news. More about Danny Hakim. Share full article. Our coverage of the Trump case in Georgia. Former President Donald Trump and 18 others face a sprawling series of charges for their roles in attempting to interfere in the state's 2020 presidential election. A fourth indictment. For the fourth time in as many months, Trump was charged with serious crimes. A development that shows how what was once unprecedented has now become surreally routine. Trump surrenders. The former president surrendered at the Fulton County Jail in Atlanta on August 24th and was booked on 13 felony charges. He spent about 20 minutes at the jail, getting fingerprinted and having his mugshot taken. Trump's mugshot, not long after the release of Trump's booking photo. A first in his 4 criminal cases and the first known to have been taken of any former president. His campaign began fundraising off it. RICO charges. At the heart of the indictment in Georgia are racketeering charges under the State Racketeering Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Here's why such charges could prove to be a powerful tool for the prosecution. Who else was charged? Rudy Giuliani, who led legal efforts in several states to keep the former president in power, and Mark Meadows, the former White House chief of staff, were among the 18 Trump allies charged in the case.
Okay. Y'all, I don't want this video right here too long. But I hope everyone kind of got an update on what's going on with the Mellows testifies and bid to move Georgia Trump case to federal court. Woo! You don't play with the feds. You don't play with the feds, but they got a 99% conviction rate. It may not be 95, 99. It might be about 95. It's up there. You don't mess with the feds. You know, the state is going to run in and see what they can get you for, whatever they can get you for, but the feds going to get you for what they're going to get you for. And they're going to get you if you're doing something that they're going to get you for. So just stay clear. But yeah, y'all like this type of content where I'm using AI to report the news, you feel me, and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm trying to get monetized and stuff, man, trying to get this thing out there. So y'all want to support, go ahead and watch, like, comment, subscribe. If you watch it all the way through, salute to y'all, you real deal, Holyfield. You know, we're going to do another one. So appreciate everybody. Peace out.